the music. You will be inspired to think higher, realize your gift. Join the music and Michelle, Gina. Turn this up and through your speakers. It's the music of music.
And hello to everybody. I am Michelle Fallon, and you are with the Muses Behind the Music. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it's this evening, this morning, this afternoon, if you are, in Eastern Standard Time, Pacific Standard, whatever it is. Thank you so much for being such a great supporter of the Muses Behind the Music. And today I am so honored and privileged to have my colleague and friend, the Dr. Eugene Rogers, choral conductor. Listen, he's got a lot of stuff going on. Good gracious. I'm always a woman who's asking the questions when I see someone who is reflective of having several different streams coming at them. How do you keep balance? And so I know that he's going to share a secret of his that I can take with me, and so can you, on your journey in creating balance, because he is definitely doing all of the things that the Creator is calling him to do on this earth. It's a dynamic privilege when you can be appreciated and awarded with so many different accolades as Dr. Eugene has. He is a two-time Michigan Emmy Award winner, a 2017 Sphinx Medal of Excellence recipient, and a 2015 Grammy Award nominee. Recognized as the leading conductor and pedagogue throughout the U.S. and abroad. I mean, that's pretty hot in itself. In addition to doing all of these wonderful things and being the artistic director of the Washington Chorus, he is also the founding director of Exigence and the director of choirs and the conducting program, associate professor of the conducting program at the University of Michigan. Where he's just balancing it all. I just tell you, it's not an easy thing. The accolades and the different positions that he has been in is just tremendous across the United States. Of course, the choir at the University of Michigan has traveled all over the world under his baton and his leadership. In 2015, the Mark Foster Publishing began the Eugene Rogers Choral Series. I mean, that's pretty cute, if you must ask me. It's better than cute, but I'm going to use that word right now. That is just amazing that someone said, hey, listen, I would like to hold a series under your name. And it features emerging composers who specialize in contemporary classical and folk music traditions. It's just dynamic. There's just so many things about Dr. Eugene Rogers, but definitely one of the greatest things that I can say is that he is a true humanitarian for social movement issues and uses his artistry to make sure that he speaks to it, infuses it, and that the people who come in contact with his offering, you feel and know the message. You are walking away changed, whatever that change is that you need. Ladies, gentlemen, and all young, old, in between listening, I welcome my friend and colleague, Dr. Eugene Rogers.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey! What's up, friend?
You know what? I hear all that and I go, who is that person?
He's the man in the mirror. That's who he is.
The glory. It truly is what I say.
Indeed. Like, all of these amazing gifts. It just goes on and on. Did you ever think that this would be you? Were you striving for it?
No.
Yeah,
no.
That's the beauty of it.
That's the thing. I tell people what I can tell you, what I always have done is try to be present.
Yeah.
To whatever God has called me to do. That old adage that says, bloom where you're planted. I firmly believe in that. as well as just make sure that if my name is associated with something, I want it to be excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure I'm following that still small voice that says yes or no, and don't go if I don't have peace, don't do it. If I do,
Absolutely.
follow it. And so that has sort of been the guiding, and working hard. I do believe if you love it, you should do it. If you don't, you shouldn't.
Absolutely.
I have a sort of a fundamental philosophy about that. So for me, that was the guiding principle. And to be honest, I'm not doing anything. Not one of these jobs did I ever in a million years imagine that I would be doing. I have to be honest, to the point that I'll never forget. This is just a quick little story. I got asked when I was looking to go to graduate school, and they asked me, what do you want to do in 10 years? And I'll never forget, my answer was, I want to have my own high school program, which is great. But that was to the extent of my goals, to be honest. And the rest is history.
Listen, I feel you. I am a high school teacher, and I never was thinking about being a high school teacher. I love it. Life does some things that puts you into some other placements that you don't think of, and I love the young people. Now the whole structure of everything else, we could talk about that another time. You understand it so greatly, right? But I get it. So much of where I am, even in the space of the particular high school that I'm at, was not anything that I was running towards. So I understand that magnificently, and that to me is like, I don't know. I feel that's even better. It's like, okay, I'm listening in. We're tuning in a bit more to just our own wants and needs, but really where God is sending.
That is really how I feel. I always tell people, plan and leave room for that still small voice. Because if you have such a structured plan, then you may miss out on something that's even greater than this little plan of yours. So that, for me, has always been my philosophy. Be present, love the people, and stay open.
So where did this all start for you?
It all started for me, honestly. I don't remember a day that I wasn't singing. I grew up in rural Virginia, and I just would be outside on my mother's porch making music up and down the roads, to the point that they actually said, get that boy, get him to sing a solo, because clearly he wants to sing.
Clearly.
And that is really where it started. And I started singing in churches, and I actually did concerts as a young boy, as a soloist, and all sorts of stuff. And then I started taking piano lessons, and that's when I knew that I wanted to do more classical music, that I wanted to do it all and not be limited to only one thing, but let's embrace all of the gift of music. And my junior high teacher gave me that wonderful gift. And I then from there went to undergraduate, University of Illinois, majored in choral music education. I taught for a while, played for a while, and then I was fortunate enough to get my master's at the University of Michigan, and then was recruited by the Boys Choir of Harlem and went to New York for a while and worked with the Boys Choir of Harlem until my life had to transition out of that, and then started gigging. That's when the doors opened to me, started traveling and guest conducting and doctorate at Michigan, and then the rest is history from there.
I love it. I just really love it. I'm always fascinated. I think I was sharing this with you, like people who have started in one area of the arts, and then along the line they have gravitated into something else, which just should represent to a lot of people just the breadth that we have in the arts world. Who was the person who pushed you? You said your middle school or your high school teacher?
Well, gosh, it's several people along the way, but the kernel began really with my middle school teacher, who has, gosh, she still comes and supports. When the Washington Chorus, we had our Candlelight Christmas, she was there for the Candlelight Christmas concert. She came to my doctoral graduation, and I mean, she's always at all these major markers, but it was her who actually said, you could do this for a living. And I said, I can't. I mean, I was just, I was very unassuming. How can you walk out and saying, I'm going to do this. That just was that's never been my personality.
Right.
And so through that encouragement, and then I've had some amazing mentors that, I mean, I could go through them all from, from a voice teacher in Minnesota who really helped me realize that style, that I could embrace so many different styles of music. And she exposed me really to performance practice within classical art song and opera. And so, I mean, it's just various teachers. And of course, my conducting mentors, Chet Alwis, Jerry Blackstone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many folks along the way. And then people who didn't know they were your mentors, right? Those are also the fun people, just the presence of who they were, just what they represented. I think of Ollie Watts Davis from University of Illinois, who wasn't directly a teacher of mine, but her presence influenced me so much. The standard of excellence, the way she commanded respect and love when she walked into a room. I mean, that influenced me majorly, in ways that were not as much as someone obviously who was your direct teacher. So, I mean, that list is endless.
It's like Leontine for me. She doesn't know that she's my mentor. She don't know.
Yes.
But she is, right?
Absolutely right.
Mother Price will always be. I tell people all the time, Lord have mercy, if something were to happen to her, don't try to reach out to me. You're not going to be able to get me. I'm in tremendous mourning over there, but glad that she is still here on this earth to be able to still pour into people and give back. And now with all of what she has gone through in her career, to be able to shine a light into somebody else's life and, just have guidance for that. I love that. Your plate is so full. It's really full. And I was not kidding when I said about the balance of life. You have Exigence. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you even decide that name? What brought about the need to have it? Because the truth is, it's like the churches and the liquor stores that are on every corner somewhere, right? We have a lot of various choral aggregations. Why did you see the need that this is a necessity for us to have right now?
Definitely. I was inspired by another mentor of mine, Afa and Aaron Dworkin, and the work that they were doing with the Sphinx organization. And obviously being in Michigan, Sphinx was very much a part of my influence in life as well. And I approached them actually with the idea. Lee Pringle, also of The Color of Music, also someone who has inspired me by really trying to have a platform for Black and Latinx performers in classical music who either did not feel included, pre-George Floyd. Now, the good news is that I feel like people are wanting more people of color to be at the forefront. They're wanting those composers on their concert stages. They're wanting those artists. Well, that wasn't happening a lot in 2014, 2015.
You got that right.
You had a select few, and that I approached Aaron and Afa and said, listen, I have a dream of starting a professional vocal ensemble that highlights just that, the vocal artistry, the compositional talent of Black and Brown composers. And I asked them just to give me a word of support. Can you just give me a letter of support? And it was they actually approached me and said, no, that mission is so in line with ours. We love to partner with you.
I love it.
And have you be a part of Sphinx. And so from there, then the name, I mean, we sat around as a team, literally. And threw so many things on the wall, and that name emerged actually because that was the meaning of what we were trying to create, a great need. And working and all of us together really decided that was the best, most fitting name for this ensemble, and the rest is history from there. And I wish the group, we're a project-based choir, so we don't meet. We only come together for projects. And so, but every time we do, it always feels like old home week.
I know that's right. I like homecoming all over there. I know that's right. I wanted to be able to share a little clip with the audience of what you did with Exigence. Can you explain this particular clip? This is in reference to Maya Angelou's beautiful poetry on I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the book.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, Thompson and I have been really wonderful colleagues for many, many years, starting with the Seven Last Words of the Unarmed. And I knew
Mhm.
that I wanted him to be a part of Exigence. And so when Exigence began, I commissioned several composers, and he was one of them. And I sort of gave him carte blanche. I said, this is the group. You write something that represents Exigence and our work together. And he chose this Maya Angelou text and wanted to dedicate it to so many women from the
Yeah.
civil rights era who really through the years have not had their wings to be free.
Yes.
To soar, not just as obviously as a race, but also as women. And so Black women leaders he dedicates this work to. And so this piece is written for Exigence piano, clarinetist, and mezzo-soprano soloists that
Love
feature
it.
this amazing text.
Here we go.
The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. Her tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings for freedom.
And dips his wing in orange sun rays, and dares to gain the sky. What a bird that stalks down a narrow cage can sail the sea through bars of rain. Her wings are clipped, her feet are tied, so she opens her throat to sing, to sing.
Mm. I mean, just absolutely glorious.
Oh, thank
I
you.
mean, it takes me back to my Howard days. There's just something also that I love about clarinet voice, oboe voice. It's just it's just lush and just they're so well intertwined with
I
one
agree.
another.
Yes. I feel that way about French horn as well.
Oh, good
Yeah.
God. French horn gives me goosebumps. I can barely hold myself still when I have to sing with a French horn. Jesus have mercy. You know, it's just something just so, those voices melding together, you know,
No, I agree.
exciting. What a piece. What a
It's a
dynamic piece of
masterpiece.
work.
It really is. I mean, it's 10 minutes. It's a long piece, but it takes you on a whole journey. I don't know if you've had the chance to listen to the whole thing.
Oh, I have. And I always, the word that the words that come to mind is hauntingly beautiful.
Yes.
There's so many different colors and shades and the text
Mhm.
and just
Yes.
I wish I could just listen to music and just sit back and just listen, but I have to analyze every single thing that I'm doing too. And I mean, but that makes the difference at first when I'm first hearing it. Do you do that too? Do
Oh,
you?
definitely. I sometimes try to just as best I can let it wash over me, but it becomes that's harder, I find sometimes. But I love that's the beauty for me. People ask, don't you get tired of music? And I say,
Mm,
because there's so much variety.
yeah.
If I get a little tired of this, I just go on over here. And I just I mean
And I fill my cup on something else, and then I'll come
exactly.
back. Then I'll come back. So tell us about Exigence. You audition, or do
Mhm.
you hand select? You know these voices, or
No,
what
it's a
happens?
combination. When the group first started, you have to start off with a core, but we held auditions in New York, Texas, and Michigan. And
Hmm.
then so we did actually travel to do some of those auditions and had local auditions, and then we took virtual, and we still do take virtual rolling auditions. And basically, we have a roster of about 40, 50 people that we,
Wow.
depending on who's available or not, we sub in and out. And so there's a lot of folks because of their careers. I'm looking at some of those
Yeah.
folks now. They're all over because I intentionally wanted solo voices. Some people love more choral voices, and I like
Hmm.
choral voices, but this group I really wanted solo voices who could sing in a choir.
Yeah. Can you
So
describe the difference? Because I don't think a lot of people even understand that there's a difference between one who is a soloist who can sing in the choir and one, oftentimes directors will try to pinch or to
mhm.
have those soloists pull back. What's the
Sure.
difference?
Yeah, I see. For me, a choral singer is one who can blend with any voice. The
Hmm.
voice doesn't have over too much vibrato. Sometimes no vibrato. Core voice, very clear pitch, usually good
Yeah.
musicianship. Whereas a solo voice has a range of color that yes, you're going to get individuality, and you may get some flexibility. And that's what I'm looking for, is that flexibility.
Yeah.
But for me, you hear the difference in the fullest things, because a solo voice together, when they work, the overtones that you're able to create and the volume difference, I find
Yes.
to be different, right?
Absolutely.
Because most choirs can sing softly with just choral sounds, but when you're talking about the range of full volumes in a smaller group, solo voices can give you from 4 Fs to 4 Ps and peel the paint off the wall. And every now and then I want that. And I tell them, I want you to peel the paint off the wall right in this moment. Okay. Yes, I want all of that operatic format.
That's it.
But the flexibility is there. I'm looking for flexible solo voices
Hmm.
who can say, I can float this, or I can go full operatic if you want that.
I
So
love it. I love it. Did you have in mind, because of this smaller ensemble, hey, I want to use 16 voices. I want to use 32 voices. Did you have in mind that golden number?
I did. 32 was my golden number.
Okay.
And however, financial touring
Right.
packages, that was a negotiation between me and the organization about what could
Hmm.
really be. It's hard to tour with 32 people and
Oh,
pay for housing, per diem,
that's right.
flights. I mean, it's not, we're used to orchestras. We wouldn't imagine having an orchestra on stage and not every person being paid and compensated.
Correct.
However, choirs, there's because we are predominantly an amateur art form,
Hmm.
people don't often want to pay that because they feel like, oh, I can just call my friend along the way and she'll do it for free. That's fine, but that's not what we're trying to
Right.
support and show that singers too can have professional careers and output. And so they're expected to come knowing the music, often memorized like they do for an operatic role, knowing parts, ready to go. Because we come together and you may have 2 days of rehearsals and a full concert done.
I
You
love it.
that's because that's what we would expect an orchestra to do.
Yeah.
We'd start with them on a Friday and the concert may be Sunday. Well, singers can do that as well. And that's another
Absolutely.
goal of this. It's just that when I was looking around at the field of professional choirs, I just didn't see a lot of people that looked like me in those ensembles. And so I wanted to create a space where people can be singing at a high level, professional level, who also were part of many diverse communities.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you bring up that point because the reality too is as a conductor, as a Black conductor,
Mhm.
we don't see a lot of us,
No,
and not a lot of Black female on that on my end.
absolutely.
But then you come and you're now with the Washington Chorus,
Mm,
who has, for the most part, here been a predominantly white
mhm,
organization, and so there's a there are some beautiful things that can come out of
mm.
being this Black director over this predominantly white choral aggregation. And how are you planning in mind? What are you thinking about repertoire, about
Ooh,
building, so that there is now, we're building bridges within the community through this organization. I mean, there are just so many different
mhm.
areas. And I guess that goes into the question of what drew you here that said,
Yes.
yeah, this is the organization, this is the space that I know that I'm being called to
Mhm.
because they fit this mission, or I can see myself doing this with them.
Absolutely. Wow, that question, that's a really good question, and it's not a simple answer.
You're
I
right.
would first say that I was drawn to the Washington Chorus for two main reasons. The first one being I was drawn to them partly because of their classical music history. At Michigan,
Hmm.
I teach graduate students where we study choral orchestral works every day. I mean,
Mm.
I could in the same day I may do Poulenc Gloria, Brahms Requiem, Duruflé Requiem, Mendelssohn's Elijah, Justice Symphony by it could be all of that at the
Yes.
same day because that's the graduate study. So for me, working with an ensemble that had a focus on those works so that again it was an extension of what I do on a daily basis was
Hmm.
appealing to me. The second thing that was appealing to me was their call for a conductor who had a love for diversity,
Yeah.
equity, and inclusion,
Yes.
who was really interested in basically increasing their awareness, understanding, and being a part of a community that wanted to broaden that perspective. Those are and because of that, because again,
Hmm.
if that had not been in their mission statement or their goals or the job, I should say, description,
Yeah.
it would have been a little less appealing to me
Ah.
because that they would have only allowed me to bring one part of who I am. And with their
Mhm.
understanding and wanting to broaden their perspective, broaden their collaborative efforts, broaden the board, broaden the personnel, well, that's right up my alley. That's
Yeah,
who I
right.
am. That's, because I don't see it as an either or. I see it as and let's add more. Let's bring more chairs to the table. Let's add more voices to this conversation. And the executive director, Stephen Bourgeois, the
Mhm.
energy that he brought
Mhm.
and
Oh
his
my God, yeah.
I knew, okay, if that job description, they're past this executive director, I'm interested in
Right.
being a part of this organization. And the rest is history. And we're working. I mean, it's not, the thing that I loved is that they were very clear that we're not expecting you to be a savior here.
Mhm. I like
This is
that.
a
Mhm.
community. This is community work.
Mhm.
And if we are not working together as a board, as a choral council, as a choir through our programming, then this is really lip service. And so
Absolutely.
that's for me, that's the interesting thing because as I tell people, look, I only know of one miracle worker, and I'm not him. Um,
We's about to celebrate him soon.
exactly. I'm not
Right.
the one, but I can be a part together, and that's
Yeah.
why everything you're seeing is together. That became our theme because that's really the only way any of this can really happen. Is
Absolutely.
yeah,
I learned from a college professor years ago who who shared, you know, Michelle, it is all about building relationship.
yes, That's right.
Period. I don't, and the older that I have become, and the more that I work and I'm building in different areas, the more I know that to be 100% just
Yes.
the truth.
Yeah.
That everything is, people want to know that you actually care about them,
Yes.
not about what you can get from them, but that
Absolutely.
you are about really truly building.
Yes.
And sometimes in the build, we know that we're going to come across a great deal of challenges, but
Yes.
being somebody who knows that you're fair, you're level-headed, and you're
Yeah.
able to work through those challenges. What has been one of the challenges that you have faced since you have come to this area? It couldn't,
Mm.
and not just with the Washington chorus,
Of
but
course.
this area in general, because we are ever changing.
Yes.
DC is,
Oh, yes. Yep.
morphing itself on
Mhm.
a consistent, regular basis.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the challenges that just have several, but one of
Hmm.
them has been how to break in and really
Mm.
connect with folks because of the fact, as you asked, you talked about the schedule. The schedule is pretty busy, and so how to make genuine connections,
Yes.
that's not easy in we're a fast-paced city like DC where everybody's
Hmm.
got a lot going on. And so I'm finding that I have to be very strategic about that so that
Yeah.
I'm not just in and out, and trying to make sure people realize that it is a deeper connection than that. I think the other challenge, anytime you're going through a change like this within an organization, is keeping everybody having tough conversations and calling
Yes.
calling it out when it feels like people are interested only in transactional relationships or transactional musical
Hmm.
experiences versus really telling stories of raising awareness. Are we, yeah, we get people in the room, but do they feel like they belong here?
Yes.
Or is it really just to increase your demographics?
Yes.
That's challenging. That's not going to happen overnight. I don't care what the organization is. That if you've had a
Period.
long background in doing mostly music that's not from a certain color, why are you interested? What is your interest? Is it genuine?
You know, it's I'm glad you said that, because I have to be transparent.
Yes.
And saying that in the last few years, maybe 5 years now, as we have all seen this movement in the choral world of, choirs who want to embrace
Yes.
um, diversity and other cultural music. I appreciate that on one side. And the other side of me really feels like, I hope this ain't short lived.
Yes.
I hope that, that this is really a part of what you are planning on doing. And it's not for the sake of, I believe that Black Lives Matter, so I'm going to program some Black
Yes.
composers.
Mhm.
Or, I want it to be because you want to be educated
Yes.
about a beautiful history and culture of
Yes.
people and music. Do you find that you get people who, because people do this to me all the time, like, I want to sing a spiritual, but I don't think that you'd be okay with me singing a spiritual? Do you get those conversations from people all the
Trust
time?
me. I used to be so with ACDA, American Choral Directors Association. I used to
Yeah.
be there. I was the first chair of diversity initiatives, and
Mm.
it was not an easy task
Hmm.
because what that entailed was all of that, right? What are how to answer those questions, how to move people beyond just programming a piece,
Right.
beyond just mixing and stirring, but
Yes.
integration. And so there's a lot of that happens. I feel like though we are moving. I feel
Mm.
like there's a group of people. I feel like Chorus America, organizations like that, and ACDA and
Hmm.
NCCO, these organizations are gradually moving towards getting deeper understanding and
Yes.
not just I just want to program this piece, or maybe I don't feel like I should program it because I'm not from this culture. I'm feeling like we're gradually getting there. It's
Hmm.
this is not easy work. And
Yeah.
it's not, I would say the other side of that is that it's not clean work. In other
Uh,
words, we're going to offend sometimes.
yeah.
We're going to be uncomfortable at times. That's the only way we can really have the roots go deep and we can move beyond just,
Beyond it. Period.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
beyond it. I you know, when I get these questions, my words to folk are always, you know, Black folks, Black choir members, directors, we we teach. We just we teach, right? And if I'm teaching a piece that is by Fauré and it's in French, my students already know the expectation is you're going to know every single word. It's literal translation. You're going to
Yes.
understand what the composer was trying to come across. And you need to do the same thing if you're doing a spiritual. Just be, authentic to what it is that the song is about. And if you don't know, like I don't know, I mean, all of the pronunciations. I took
No,
French and I'm
it's
a
not. We have to
singer.
study it.
You
Look it up.
study, look it up, get with. We've got too many
Resources.
resources. That's it. We said that word together. We're twinning today. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, just too many resources out here for you not to have that information or not to want to access it, gain it.
I rarely get that question anymore because I think
Really?
people know that I'm sort of all about that there's no excuses, right? That everybody is all, if you can perform Brahms Requiem, as far as I know, none of us grew up, and we think about all the classical, Western classical music, I don't think any of us grew up in 18th century, 17th century,
Correct.
Vienna, Germany. As far as I know, we all had to learn it. So is there any different?
Right.
Except for the fact that maybe our academies have taught us that. So this is why there does need to continue to be sessions,
Yes.
educating, training.
Yes.
So that, because we spent years training and learning about the traditional Western canon. And so
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that because that summarizes all of my thoughts into that space. The pandemic.
yes,
You were doing some good things during the pandemic. Oh my gosh. Like what did you there's so many questions about that 2-year period that I could
Lord help
really start with. What were your initial thoughts? Were you scared? Were you nervous
Well,
about it?
first of all, I thought it was only a month. I thought, you know what, I'm really tired. I'm going to enjoy this little month off. That is the honest truth. I thought we're just going to get a little time and we're going to go back.
Right.
That's where I started. And when the reality hit, that no, this was not going to be that short,
right.
I struggled because I had just been announced as the artistic director of the Washington Chorus. We had just programmed this year of intense music making.
Yes.
And when I got the call that we're going to have to completely scrap all of that and think about, I have to be honest, the stress level was pretty high, trying to think about how am I going to start a new job? I don't even know people. All I can say is thank goodness for colleagues who are willing to dream together. And iron sharpens iron. And just to be honest, on all of my jobs, sometimes I was the one helping somebody else. And sometimes other colleagues were the ones saying, no, we can do this. Don't give up. Because I just couldn't see forward. I mean, I really thought it was just going to be a short-lived experience that we would come out of pretty quickly. So, but I have to say, I mean, and then we had our racial reckoning that happened in this country. So on top of all of that, work that I had done years ago, or the work that I was doing in social justice and diversity, gosh, I felt like it was an intense time during
My
COVID.
God. Yeah. I'm right with you.
You and I were on a radio broadcast together.
Yeah. And like in my mind, I was like, I don't know where we're gonna go next because that was the question. What are you gonna do? I don't know. I have I'm sitting here right now on the radio with you trying to figure it out. There's a lot. It was very full. I have gathered some great tools. You know,
Mhm.
I'm
Yes.
not technologically savvy. That's not a secret. But I tell you, it forced me into a space
Yes.
that I had to learn how to be on this thing and learn some, just outstretch myself into areas that I thought one day I would have to do it, but because it was so abrupt, it was like in your
Yes.
face,
Oh,
just
yeah.
had to do. What's something that you have pulled from the experience? What have you learned that you're not going to let go of? That this now can become, a great building block.
Sure. A couple of things. First of all, I learned that I never need a virtual choir ever in my life again. So that's the first thing.
Amen.
That I can tell you. But no, two big things. I actually was just having this conversation because they're doing an article at U of M about how we manage the pandemic as ensemble.
Mhm.
And one of the things is I've learned that Zoom actually is a wonderful resource that can be used for group meetings. For sometimes it is better to have everybody in the room and share. Right
Mhm.
now, these podcasts, interviewing artists,
Yeah.
I will never stop. I will always have Zoom in my life on some level because it really does help on so many ways. And then I also, for me, to be frank, is the lesson I've learned is that artists will always find a way to create because it is the outpouring of humankind's experiences, expression, ability to
Yeah.
see beauty.
Yeah.
That to see all of the creativity, the way people were resourceful, even in the midst of that, that just tells me we're never going anywhere.
Yeah.
Art will always
Always.
have a
Always. And you know what? Here's the other, like the bone, the bare bone truth too. We have to survive. we I gotta feed my children, so I'm about to be real creative because 10 gigs that just got
Hey,
canceled
hello,
that were
hello.
paying me a pretty penny. Let me see how I'm going to utilize this.
Yeah,
And I mean, yeah, and it all worked itself together.
yes.
I'm prayerful that we won't have to enter
Oh,
a
but we know
situation
we
like
can.
that,
If we have to,
but we
we
can.
yeah.
So you did this phenomenal project with the Washington
Yes.
Chorus during the pandemic. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I just want to give like a
Wow.
short clip and
Yes.
it was
I
phenomenal.
mean, to be frank, it came out better than we imagined. So
Uh-huh.
all I know is that Stephen Bourgeois and I went back to the drawing board and said, "What the heck?" We knew that we wanted part of our season was going to premiere a new work by Damien Jeter. So we thought, since we can't do the work we originally had planned, let's
Mhm.
go back to Damien and see what could he create. We still wanted to have something new, even in
Yeah.
the middle of this. And the only thing I told Damien was I would love for this work to reflect hopelessness or
Mm.
fear to hope.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing. And the second of all, the Washington Chorus, and we want to expand their vocabulary musically or repertoire, but we also want to honor who they are as this traditional classical. So if there's some kind of Bach
Mm.
chorale or some kind of, how can you? And so that's it. And from there came this amazing work. And then we, at the
Masterpiece.
same time, I will say, commissioned this amazing video designer who I've known, who I've worked with him before, and commissioned him to create a story, a visual around this music, since it would be displayed or premiered
Mhm.
virtually. And from there, gosh, we knew that it was going to be a solo cellist. I mean,
Love it.
that work was filmed in Michigan. That work was filmed in DC, all during the pandemic. Damon Jeter and I had never met each other, commissioned him
I
virtually.
love it.
Andy and I knew each other, but I never saw her sing live at all. She did that all in DC. I mean,
Isn't
it
that
was
awesome?
that's amazing. I mean,
Technology
exactly.
and bringing everything together. That's why we'll never get rid of it. Well, let's
Yes,
take a little listen to a
Cantata.
little bit of
Mhm.
this, the cantata for a more
Hopeful
hopeful
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yes. Martin, can you hear me?
Code 924. Code 924. Code 924.
I'm just going to need you to go on ahead and check out this dynamic work, you all, because it really, you know what I appreciate so much about what you all did was that you didn't do all the blocks.
Yes, we didn't want that. That was actually the only thing. One of the few things we told the videographers that we just don't want to see that. We love to find a more creative way if we can. Nothing against that, because I've done definitely that.
I did it too.
How can we find a different way to still engage, use the singers or not? And
I love that. And you know what? Hey, videographers, y'all were getting paid.
That's
like, you know,
engineers and video. I mean, goodness gracious. I spent, and our sound engineers were in Houston. So I would travel back and forth sometimes there.
Oh,
I mean, this all happened during the pandemic, but made some new friends.
Yes.
I mean, it definitely was a work of a lot of people from a lot of different places coming together. That was in the middle. It opens with a Bach, an excerpt from a Bach cantata that then goes into various new arrangements and includes several spirituals as well. I Want Jesus to Walk With Me. There's a Balm in Gilead taking us. And that middle section where this person who's struggling with COVID, he almost passes away, Martin Rogers, and is hallucinating. He's a conductor and a musician. So you see singers hallucinating, seeing and hearing the sounds of the voices that he's lived with for years. That was to a text by Aminata Seyi, Sierra Leonean poet, fantastic poet as well from Oregon. So
I love how you all captured the imagery of the text that was taking place and all the music, and it's just that's powerful. And to me, it's I'm always trying to say, if you can't hear, I need you to be able to see what I'm trying to say. Like that's how you got to leave it, and that is awesome. You've got these 3 choral aggregations, all different kind of repertoire. I can't even imagine like how much your head is spinning at night or during your sleep. How are you choosing it? Are you thematic about it? Are you looking at what's happening in the current spaces of the world and you're building programs in that? Do they all share something different? Are they similar? I know they're different levels, but how do you go about that?
Great question. I'm a mission-driven programmer. And for me, every group has a different mission. The Exigence mission is very different from the Washington Chorus. They may share some similarities, but they're very different personnel and mission. So for me, the music I choose is very much about that group. And again, if there's overlap, great, but that's not how I approach it at first. The U of M, I've got sort of 2 aggregates from the graduate studio and their work to the chamber choir that I conduct. That's also a very different mission. And so that's where I start. I let the mission of the organization and where they want to go, what they have done, be the driver of that. There is sometimes there's overlap, but it's just not always. For example, Justice Symphony was commissioned both by U of M and the Washington Chorus. So that overlap there is that it was premiered at U of M, and then we'll do the East Coast premiere with the Washington Chorus on June 12th. Again, this year, June 12th coming up. Yes, with Karen Slack as our soprano soloist. And so very different, but that different communities, but they share a love for also wanting to have a voice on social justice or just issues that are connected to today.
Absolutely.
So that for me is how I sort of program. It's very much about the mission and intent and goals of that group.
It's very evident as
Oh,
I
thank
have,
you.
as I have intensely in the last couple of weeks been looking at various videos and
Oh,
focusing in on what I have to do my job,
oh,
and
thank
in
you.
on what you do, and it spoke without you even speaking about it, and I
Thank
appreciate that as an artist, because one of the things that I firmly believe and I try to instill into my young students is that when you step out onto the stages of music or the arts world, and it doesn't mean the literal performing stages, because you might want to be an arts presenter,
That's right.
you might want to be a lawyer, a music business lawyer. I still believe firmly that you have to speak to something. Like,
Yes.
we have the responsibility and the obligation, as
Sure.
one of the foremost gifts that the creator has given, to
Yes.
speak to the things that are taking place and use your art in such a positive manner that it
Yes.
leaves a beautiful taste in the mouths of people when they experience you. And you're doing that, Eugene. You're doing
Oh,
it so
thank you.
beautifully and so
Bless you.
gracefully. And I'm excited about what you will continue to bring to this DC area as we're shifting and changing, and we are going to see and experience that with the Washington Chorus and Exigence and all of the things that you do. When you are not in music, where can we find you?
When I'm not in music, you might find me on a beach.
Yes, God. Yes.
I do believe that one should play as hard as they work. And
Amen.
people have asked me, how are you going to maintain this? Oh, I make time to rest, because if the Lord saw fit to take a whole day and rest,
Yeah,
that means I definitely need some time to rest.
absolutely.
So for me, I believe in that I work very hard. I don't, and I love what I do, and I do believe it's work, but it's a labor of love, as one of my dear
Yes.
friends would say all the
Yeah.
time. But I also believe you really need to switch it up and take some time to. I think you talk about the muse behind the muses, right?
Yeah.
That is how that creativity, the muse happens, is taking
Absolutely.
time to just really let your spirit, your mind, your body rest. So you might find me doing that. You may find me. I'm a foodie. I love going out to
Me
eat
too.
great restaurants. I love finding unique places.
Yes,
It can be a hole in the wall. Let's be clear. It doesn't always mean fancy.
that's right.
It's just good quality. I just love good food. And
I see what we're going to be doing together, Eugene. We're going to be doing it together more. Okay.
and laughing. And
Yes.
I really, to me, somebody says, it's hard work, but that doesn't mean you can't have fun while you're doing it.
You better have fun.
I
You better have
I
fun.
like to have a good time with it. And then I would say the other part of that is I love coffee. Anybody who knows me, the first thing I do when I go to a town is find the best coffee shop in the area, because
Love it.
I have to have my fresh coffee every day. And just that's me. Just
Yeah.
taking time and being with family and friends. I love my family. I grew up in Southern Virginia, and
Yeah.
and that's an important part of my life as well, is spending time with my family.
Absolutely. I love it. What's a pet peeve of yours?
Duplicity.
Mm.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I
okay.
can deal with most things, but I have a
Hmm.
real hard time when I feel like people aren't face value, because I just don't
Yeah.
roll that way. Because if I have an issue with you, we're gonna talk about it, and
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest pet peeve I have. That's probably one of the few things that I struggle with getting past, is
Yeah.
when I feel like people are duplicitous. Just to be
Yeah.
very honest. Other than that, I pretty much can deal with everything else, because I think sometimes work ethic, you can work with people. I love teaching and mentoring. So
Yeah.
if somebody falls down today, I'm okay. I'm gonna love on you. We're gonna get you back up. That's probably the biggest thing, to be honest, for me.
Hmm. Have you reached your pinnacle?
I hope not, but
Right.
because I stay present, I don't. I try not to. I don't have this plan. I'm not strategic when it comes to career, and I
Mm-hmm.
think people really think I am. Like you'll never find. I'm not. I don't have this plan that I've got to make sure I meet
Right.
this person. I have a philosophy that when I'm supposed to meet somebody or I'm supposed to be somewhere, it is going to happen. That is
God ordained.
that's just how I live by that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hope not, but I don't know. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
love it.
Thank
And
you
we
for
love
this.
you. This
Oh,
has
I love
been
you. I can't
wonderful.
wait to spend more time with you.
Oh,
And
we're gonna spend time on the outside. Y'all ain't invited to see that, but we're
I
gonna have
also
a
love
wonderful
your work.
time.
You
Thank you.
inspire me. I love what I've watched
Thank you.
videos of you as well. And
I
I love the way
appreciate
you
that.
make music. I mean it. It's a gift.
That's
It's a
that is
gift
it
to us.
is a gift, and I'm appreciative of that. Thank you.
Mm.
Especially coming out of your mouth to my ears. Thank you
Oh,
very
bless
much. I
you. Thank you.
appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, my muses, this has been Dr. Eugene Rogers. I'm so grateful for your presence tonight. I hope that everyone or somebody, if but for one, has received something, a message that maybe you've been struggling with something or ideas for your next levels of where you're going in your walk and your journey, and you can take whatever that golden nugget is that he had shared. We are looking forward to so many things coming out of this amazing brother and all 3 choral aggregations that he has going on. You did share with us real quick, June 12th.
June 12th at the Kennedy Center at 5 o'clock. That's the next big thing that's coming up.
Concert
Karen
hall.
Slack, Concert Hall, Kennedy Center Concert Hall, Kennedy Center Concert
Mhm.
Hall. We hope people will come and join us. Carrie Wilkerson and Karen Slack are our 2 soloists. We're doing
Awesome.
opening with a new piece by Roshan Edazadi, Justice Symphony by Damon Jeter, and then we'll end with Rayfon Williams, Donna Nobis Pacem.
Oh,
We
that
hope
one.
people will come out, join
Beautiful.
us.
The tickets, are they on sale?
They're on sale. They're online, either at the Kennedy Center or on our website at the Washington Chorus.
All right, so y'all go get your tickets and
Thank
push,
you.
push, push. All right, thank you so much, good
Thank
brother.
you.
You know, you and I will be seeing one another very, very soon, and to
Thank
the
you.
rest of you. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Look forward to seeing you. Peace and blessings.